The long gray winter is dragging on. Time to hit the beach. Today I'm talking about what you need to know as you're booking your spring trip and how to best take advantage of Travel Rewards credit cards, plus some ideas for unique trips. It's all coming up next. Welcome to Your Money. I'm your host, Gordon Severson. Today I'm talking about travel. This time of year is perfect to get out of the house or even out of the country. And with a little planning, it doesn't have to break the bank. Ideally, if you are planning to travel this spring, you already have your tickets. The sweet spot for booking a flight is usually 10 to 12 weeks before your trip. But don't worry, it's not too late. There are still ways to snag a good deal. You've probably heard that the best day to book a flight is Tuesday. Hopefully you've also heard that this is not true. It's not about when you book, it's about when you fly. So try to book your return flight for the middle of the week instead of a weekend. When the weather gets cold and gray, people start dreaming of a week away, and the beach can be a dream location. But it can be risky to travel there alone. Here's why you need to be careful, even when you're vacationing in paradise.
Widely known for its beautiful beaches and warm weather, the Bahamas is a popular travel destination for vacations. The Department of State has issued a level 2 travel advisory due to high crime rates.
It is not a do not travel advisory. It is a use caution, be aware of your surroundings advisory.
Even with the travel ban, the phone is ringing off the hook at Dragonfly Journeys Travel Company in Scranton, especially with young college students booking their trips for spring break.
A lot of them have already gotten their trips booked. People are not afraid to travel right now.
With this ban, some resorts in the Bahamas have regulations in place for spring break travel where they're asking adults to travel with college students.
They literally have resort guys that will tell you that they do not technically book spring break, but they will do family groups.
Crime activity in the Bahamas is happening in areas where it's not common.
It happens in touristic areas and non-touristic areas. It also happens during the day, during at night, during the night. So obviously a lot of caution is needed.
Andrea Myran is the director of study abroad at Wilkes University. Staff take potential risks very seriously when it comes to travel for students.
We want to know that it's safe and there are no additional things to be considered. So definitely our advice for now will be against traveling to the Bahamas.
Travel agents advise those who travel to the Bahamas to be aware of their surroundings and never wander off.
Let people know where you are at all times. Make sure that you know that the people you travel with know where you're going, and if you can, travel in groups.
Other safety tips to keep in mind. Check with the U.S. Department of State to see if there are travel advisories for your destination. If you're headed to another country, make sure you know how to contact the U.S. Embassy or consulate in case of emergencies. Make sure your immunizations are up to date and learn at least a little about the country and the culture you're visiting. As of December, the U.S. Department of State still wants everyone to plan on 6 to 8 weeks to get a passport. It may feel like a long time, but officials say things have returned to pre-pandemic norms. But if that is still too long, for a $60 fee, you can get expedited service, which should only take 2 to 3 weeks. And here's a fun fact. Did you know there are now more than 160 million valid U.S. passports in circulation? That's more than double the amount from 2007. For more information, including tips to make sure your forms are filled out correctly, head to travel.state.gov. So my family and I are planning a trip later this year, and I was thinking about, would it be a good idea for me to get a travel credit card and start getting some rewards and earn some of those rewards for my upcoming trip? But I realized I don't know a lot about travel rewards, so I decided to ask an expert to come on the show to help us all learn more about them. So I asked Jason Steele, who is a credit card guru, to come on our show here. He writes about credit cards, talks about credit cards. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Great to be here.
So I think, first of all, if we could just kind of talk about start at the beginning. What are travel rewards and travel credit cards? How do they work?
Well, there's a lot of different kinds of credit cards that offer you some sort of rewards for signing up for a new account or for spending. And one of the most popular types of rewards is cash back, but right behind it, I would say, is travel rewards. And those can take the form of frequent flyer miles. They can be hotel points, or they can be points in a bank's program that you can then either redeem for travel or transfer to airline miles and hotel points.
And I was doing a little bit of research, and everywhere it's talking about travel miles, where, like you were saying with cash back, it's a little easy to understand. You just get 1%, 2%, or 3% back for everything you buy. But with the miles, I was a little more confused. How do the miles work, and how many miles does it take to get a free flight?
40 years ago, the airline started offering frequent flyer miles. And, you can think of that kind of like a punch card at a sandwich shop where you, whatever, buy 8 sandwiches and get one for free. And it used to be that simple. Today, it's a little bit more complex. But what it boils down to is you can redeem your frequent flyer miles for what they call an award flight. So there's usually a little bit of tax and fees. Sometimes these award flights can be as little as 5, 10, 15,000 miles, but they can be hundreds of thousands of miles for a business class international ticket.
And I see a lot of them have these offers where if you sign up, you'll get X amount of miles. And that was the thing where I was confused about is I was like, okay, is that 1 free trip, 2 free trips? Is it pretty wide ranging with how many miles it takes to get some of these flights? I'm sure it depends on the airline company and the carrier.
Sure. I mean, if I offered you $100, I could say, how many meals would this give you? And it'd be more at McDonald's and less at the finest restaurant in town. In the same sense, it has more to do with supply and demand. So certainly travel over peak periods and holidays is going to require more miles than, say a visit during an off-season time. But generally speaking, with a lot of airlines, the number of miles you need corresponds with about the price of the ticket. And Delta miles, for example, are about just over 1 cent per mile towards a ticket. Other airlines make it more flexible. So with the United or American mile, some tickets you could get 2 or 3 cents in value per mile redeemed, which could be really nice if you're, say, redeeming a $1,000 round trip ticket to Europe, and it only costs you, maybe 50,000 or 60,000 miles. So you might get up to 2 or even 3 cents per mile in value sometimes. So it's frankly a little bit more complicated than it used to be, but it all depends on the program you use and how they value their miles.
Yeah, when you're looking at miles versus money, it's so hard to compare. You're not really getting an apples to apples comparison. Right now, I just use a straight cashback card, but with a travel reward card, would it be beneficial? Would I possibly get more money in incentives by using a travel reward card and maybe get some free travel? Would that be a smart idea for someone like me?
Yeah, it can be. You need to do a little bit of research, but for example, there are many credit cards out there that'll give you 70,000 or even 100,000 miles for signing up. So if you're able to get a penny and a half, 2 pennies in value per mile, you're talking about $1,500 or $2,000 worth of free travel just for signing up for a card and completing that minimum spending requirement. You just want to go into it with the right expectations. You want to book your ticket in advance. You want to travel, maybe not quite, for Thanksgiving or Christmas, but maybe a little bit less of a prime travel time. And you can get tremendous value. Whereas with a cashback card, you might be lucky to get $200 or $300 in cash back for signing up for that credit card.
And I was seeing that there were some credit cards that did have an annual fee for travel. In some situations, is it worth it to pay more for that fee because the rewards are that much greater? Is there a benefit to that for some people?
Yeah, it usually is. I mean, I talk to a lot of people about travel rewards and credit cards, and they say, oh, it has a $95 annual fee. And I point out, well, you're going to get, $1,000 worth of travel or $1,500 worth of travel. That's not a bad price of entrance for that kind of value.
Yeah, I'm sure it all depends on how much you travel too. If you get I know some of them where if you paid an extra $100 a year, you got double points.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much the travel you do. It's just using the card, and you start with that sign up bonus, and you could get a much larger sign up bonus from a card with an annual fee. Then you could get double or triple the points on certain purchases from that card with the annual fee compared to the card without the annual fee. And so that can be well worth it.
And you touched on this a little earlier, but when it comes to those points and helping them stretch a little further, are there certain times of the year, certain flights or things like that you should try to avoid with those points because you're going to be paying a premium to get those kind of flights with your points?
Yeah, well, just as when you're paying with cash, every fall we'll see on the news, people are facing larger costs for their holiday travel. Well, the trick is to book your holiday travel now or in the spring. And not only will it be less expensive in dollars, it'll also be less expensive in miles. So, when I talk to people about using travel rewards credit cards to earn free travel, I say, earn your rewards early, book your travel early, especially for parents like myself. I say leverage your inflexibility, meaning I know when my children's fall breaks, winter breaks, spring breaks will be far in advance. And so there's no need to wait until the last minute to schedule that. I can plan in advance to get the lower prices, be it in dollars or miles.
If you're traveling internationally, is there anything you need to keep in mind or be aware of with these points?
Well, international flights will have higher tax and fees. Sometimes they could be fairly modest, under $50. Other times they can be somewhat excessive. One in particular would be American Airlines miles. They usually find flights on their partner, British Airways, and they're notorious for charging outrageous amounts of tax and fees. One of the benefits of using it internationally is you actually get really, really good value when you're able to find international business class awards, overseas. And that's a lot of fun. You get a seat with that turns into a lie flat bed. You get decent food, nice service. And so if you only get to take a trip overseas every now and then, I tell people to save up their miles and treat yourself to business class. It's going to be a lot less expensive in miles if you can find it for that lowest mileage price than it would be in dollars, which could be $4,000, $5,000, $6,000.
Do these miles ever expire? Does that depend from company to company, credit card to credit card?
It does. Thankfully, the trend is away from expiration. So a lot of major programs like Delta, like Southwest, don't have that expiration. Those who have the credit card will, not see any mileage expiration as long as they earn or redeem some points every now and then. So expiration really hits the people who maybe they've saved up their miles for several years. They canceled their credit card. They said, well, I'll just wait till the time is right. A couple years goes by, they log in, they see the miles are gone. And it's always very, very sad. People are certainly very sad, sometimes upset when that happens.
With so many credit cards out there, there's just so many to choose from. It can be overwhelming. Is there certain things that people should be looking for, certain buzzwords or phrases or offers or a rate that is better than average that people should be looking for?
Yeah, boy, I wish there was a simple way to tell you this is the right card. Sometimes I say, someone comes to you and say, what's the best pair of shoes? I'm like, well, are you hiking or are you, going out on a date? Well, it all depends.
Also wondering, is there a certain point or a certain amount of spending each year that it would be beneficial to have a travel reward, or you just should stay with that cash back? Is there or is there a place for everyone to have potentially a travel reward type of card in their wallet?
I would say potentially everyone, because if you think about it, if you start off with 70,000 or 100,000 bonus miles just for signing up for that card, so long as you can meet that minimum spending requirement to earn that, which will be roughly about $1,000 to $2,000 a month. So certainly people with very, very modest spending requirements will not really qualify for those offers. I would also caution people that if you're the kind of person who carries a balance and pays interest, you should really be focused on the cards that have low interest rates. And those will not be cards that earn cashback or travel rewards.
For sure. Well, thank you so much, Jason, for your time. I appreciate you sharing your expertise with us on the show here.
Sure. Great to be here.
So I did a little digging into the credit cards that are the best for travel rewards. In a recent article, NerdWallet broke down their favorite cards right now. The list includes the Chase Sapphire Preferred Card, the Capital One Venture Rewards Card, and the Wells Fargo Autograph Cards. Now keep in mind, your mileage may vary. Make sure if you're looking for the best card that it's going to be the best for your situation. Check to make sure the interest rate, annual fee, and rewards will fit into your life. Now, are you ready to try the most epic beer run possible? This Maryland spa is filling not only your cup, but a bathtub full of hops for you to enjoy. Check it out.
It's a new spot to stay a while.
We've created a place for people to come together.
There are 10 options on draft behind the bar, but the most immersive beer lovers will want to hit the taps behind the door. This is Beer Bat, part neighborhood bar, part spa retreat, where the main attraction is a long soak in a bathtub full of beer. sort of.
It's actually just all the ingredients: hops, barley, Epsom salts, essential oils. It's the essence of beer.
Katie Barton opened Beer Bath with her husband and 2 business partners. A lot of times there's those fun conversations among friends where maybe you're drinking a few beers and you come up with grand ideas. How much beer was consumed in the process of actually taking the plunge?
It's actually the funny story. How we met was actually during a beer tasting at Hector's house.
For me, this is beer paradise.
One of those partners, Hector Enriquez, has been dreaming of the idea for years, ever since his work as a travel photographer immersed him in the centuries-old concept of beer bathing.
This is from the Vikings in the Europe, Western Europe. They bath on beer for many years because in the past they don't have good water. So they start taking bath on beer. Also, they start drinking beer instead of water because the beer, when it's fermented, kill all the germs in the water.
People have been soaking in beer for as long as they've been drinking beer.
Yeah, very much.
Now there's even medical research documenting the potential health benefits and anti-inflammatory properties of a good soak in these beer ingredients.
At the same time that you're drinking beer, so you're having fun.
You don't get drunk from the beer bath.
No. Oh gosh, no. No, there's no alcohol in it.
But since opening last month, there's been plenty of buzz around the Sykesville business, the first of its kind in the United States.
People are just like, what is this?
I bought a bath, about $100 for a single tub, to soak it in firsthand.
As a first-time beer bather, I'd say the experience is pretty relaxing, a little bit messy, but definitely memorable.
It's just a unique experience.
Would you put beer bath in the hospitality category, in the wellness and self-care category, in the attractions and things to do category?
Oh my gosh, all of them. Can I check all of them?
It's always a hard time to start a small business, let alone in 2023, 2024. What made you say, yeah, let's do this?
Well, you know what? Gosh, anytime you have a great idea that's pretty niche or new, there's a big risk, right? We'd rather regret what we did instead of regretting that we never were brave enough to take the leap.
By the glass or the gallon, I'll cheers to that.
Now, there may not be a bathtub full of beer waiting for you in your neighborhood, but I bet with a little searching online, you can find a new and fun way to explore your neighborhood. Maybe you'll find an even more surprising way to relax. You know, people have dreamed of traveling to the stars for centuries. It's not possible yet, but there are people who still travel to witness celestial events. They're called totality chasers, and they roam the world witnessing the moment the sun or moon is fully covered during an eclipse. Here's the story of a couple from Michigan who say this is an event you don't want to miss.
And you only have to go to one to be hooked.
Which turned into 5 solar eclipse trips for Jim and Linda Morford.
Panama,
Australia, Egypt,
New Mexico, and Kentucky.
Are all the locations the Morfords have chased a solar eclipse?
2005. On our own.
Going on a vacation.
The chase started with Jim's interest in astronomy and purchasing a telescope in his retirement.
I'm now up to 6 or 7 telescopes, but they were bigger and bigger. And I've got one in the basement that's so big that it takes 2 trips to take it out.
Their first solar eclipse was added onto their first big trip in retirement when they went to Peru.
We had these plans sort of made, and I come home and he's just jumping up and down, and he says, there's going to be a solar eclipse while we are there. Well, it's going to be in Panama. That's South America.
That's on the way. You know, just stop off.
Yeah. And so that's what we did.
All 5 trips have allowed them to meet people of all walks of life and experience multiple cultures.
These kids came up around him, and he let them look through his telescope, and through his Spanish sort of talked back and forth to them so they could have a little,
Yeah, they could experience it too.
A good experience, yeah.
With meeting new people, many met in the same spot, creating travel challenges at home and abroad.
We also had gridlock in Egypt. because we were up on this big plateau, and we were in a small little tour bus, but there were great big tour buses, and lots and lots of them.
On their recent trips, they learned this experience is more than capturing photos, but an experience in itself.
You have to plan for patience because it's a slow process as the moon goes over the sun. And then when it comes to totality, what do you think it lasts? Maybe
not long.
3, 4, 5 minutes?
Yeah, at the most.
From the miles traveled to the hours of waiting, the Morfords cherish each eclipse they've seen and look forward to the total solar eclipse in 2024.
Well, I think you don't want to miss it.
If you've never seen an eclipse before, you're in luck. On April 8th, the path of totality for a solar eclipse will stretch across the eastern part of the U.S. from Texas to Maine. Just make sure you pick up some eclipse glasses to take in the spectacle. Slowing down to enjoy the journey can be the best part of the trip. It all depends on where you're at. Check out this breathtaking story from Oregon.
State Highway 202 is not the fastest roadway between Portland and the Pacific, but it is the perfect backdoor byway for peace and solitude. The asphalt unwinds through small burgs called Mist, Birkenfeld, and Jewel, places that hold on to history for 50 paved miles to Astoria. A good place to discover Oregon.
That's beautiful. The texture of it, just layers upon layers of growth there.
Wow, that's pretty.
It's beautiful.
Can't believe we've never been here. And the sun's finally coming out.
I know.
It's gorgeous.
Elijah and Gabby Hanley agree. Heart-stopping moments are easy to come by on this back road, where little trails lead to big discoveries, like Lee Wooden Park just off Highway 202.
Well, this is perfect weather for waterfall shooting.
We're getting a little bit of everything today. Sun, snow, rain.
The husband-wife team travel the world and capture sights that most of us only dream about.
This time of year, the moss is starting to green up, and so everything's just lush, and the dampness from the rain also just accentuates and saturates all the colors as well. So it's really ideal for waterfall landscape photography like this.
Today, Elijah eyeballs Fishhawk Falls. It does so in a 75-foot foamy moment.
I'm gonna give it a go.
Okay. He decides on a quick scoot for a closer look.
A really nice, tight composition. The way the water's breaking apart in the upper falls is nice, and then the stream leads out of the lower left-hand corner here to kind of guide your eye into the frame.
Elijah's eyes have guided his career for more than 20 years.
This is skunk cabbage. And I understand why it's named that way. It definitely has an interesting smell, but they're very pretty.
Ever since he won a National Geographic photo contest that landed him at Machu Picchu in Peru. Gabrielle is always by his side. Together, they capture beautiful images where the light pierces the scene and creates magic that feels just right. Soon another Highway 202 pull-off feels right at home at the Jewel Wildlife Area.
Our elk are here basically on the wildlife area all year round. If it turned warm and sunny in the afternoon, these elk would probably move to the edges of the field or back up into the trees. Mornings and evenings are a better time when it's warm and sunny from about mid-April through the late summertime.
And the elk at a couple of the viewing areas will come right up next to you. It's incredible to be that close and personal with these big animals.
Elijah is a big believer in a simple approach to wildlife, so he tries to isolate each subject.
We love shooting in the fog or the snow to create these crisp white backdrops so you can really focus on the animal. You can see all the texture in the fur, their antlers, and really isolate the animal against a simple backdrop.
Gabby and Elijah agree that it's important to dive deep wherever you travel. It's the journey that supports the destination.
Not go to necessarily the biggest spots that everyone goes
the
to,
touristy
the touristy spots, but really look around the area and see what else you can find that's unique and special and a little more off the beaten path.
So hurry here soon and then slow down.
Planning a trip can be stressful, for sure, but getting away for even a few days can be a much-needed breath of fresh air and a great way to recharge. Well, that's all for today's show. Get out there and make some memories. I'm Gordon Severson, helping you save, spend, and invest your money wisely. I'll see you next time.